2015. In the world's largest financial centers, shocking news began to spread. Billions of dollars had vanished from Malaysia's National Development Fund. Someone had quietly, invisibly, moved that money through dozens of countries. Funds entrusted by ordinary citizens for their nation's future were turned into luxury villas, private jets, jewels, and even Hollywood films. This wasn't just corruption. It was a systematic crime that stole the dream of an entire nation. The name of the case? 1MDB. But these four letters were more than an abbreviation. They became the symbol of one of the most controversial financial scandals of the century. A real story that shook the destiny of a nation. 2009. Malaysia, a rising star in Asia. The government aimed to lift the economy to a new level. That year, Prime Minister Najib Razak founded a development fund called One Malaysia Development Berhad, or simply 1MDB. Officially, the fund was meant to build the nation's future, investing in energy, tourism, and infrastructure projects. It was, on paper, a national project for prosperity. But in reality, hidden deep within the fund, another plan was taking shape. At the same time, a young and influential man was rising in Malaysia's elite circles. His name, Joe Low, full name Low Taik Joe. He was never a politician, but he had close ties to the highest levels of power. Joe Low presented himself as an investor, a consultant, a bridge to foreign capital. Yet as investigations later revealed, he was the secret architect behind 1MDB's shadow network. Low operated through foreign banks, offshore companies, and hidden accounts. He built a web that could move billions across borders without leaving a trace. Everything was quiet. For years, no one suspected a thing. The 1MDB fund regularly published reports, and Prime Minister Razak proudly claimed it was driving national growth. Between 2010 and 2013, the fund reportedly allocated around $4.5 billion to various projects. But the real numbers told another story. Most of that money was diverted to fake companies and offshore accounts. The trail of money was so complex that tracking it seemed almost impossible. Until journalists and financial analysts began to uncover the truth, and the world was stunned. Part of the money went into luxury apartments in New York and London. Another part was used to buy a private jet. One portion financed a massive yacht called Equanimity, and some even went into Hollywood, funding the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. The producer of the film was Riza Aziz, the stepson of Prime Minister Najib Razak. Coincidence? No. It was a carefully orchestrated scheme. Billions were flowing silently, unseen. Meanwhile, Malaysia's economy began to show cracks. Ordinary citizens felt the decline, but few understood the real reason behind it.
When the 1MDB scandal broke, the world could no longer stay silent. This was not just Malaysia's internal problem. It was a revelation of how fragile the global financial system truly was. The investigation spread far beyond one nation. The United States, Switzerland, Singapore, Luxembourg, the UAE, more than 10 countries began tracing suspicious transactions that crossed oceans and borders like invisible shadows. Each new document uncovered another layer of deceit. Billions had vanished through fake companies and offshore accounts, as if swallowed by the dark heart of the banking world. But money never truly disappears. It only hides. The U.S. Department of Justice called 1MDB one of the largest financial scandals in global history. Hundreds of pages of evidence revealed the full scale of corruption. Every account, every transfer, tracked, traced, exposed. And one question began to echo everywhere. Could this crime really have been done by one man, Joe Low? No. This was bigger than a single name. It was an entire network, a carefully designed system approved from the very top. Soon, Joe Low's face was everywhere. From luxury yachts to international wanted lists, he became a ghost hunted by nations. And then he vanished. Some say he hides in China. Others claim he lives under a false identity on a private island. No one truly knows. Only silence, only the shadow remains. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, the storm was rising. The people were angry. What happened to our money? They demanded. Students, teachers, doctors, ordinary citizens filled the streets. The call for justice grew louder each day. Then came the election of 2018, the most important in Malaysia's modern history. For the first time in decades, the ruling party lost power. A new government rose, and their first promise to uncover the truth about 1MDB. When investigators entered the home of former Prime Minister Razak, they were stunned. Luxury watches, hundreds of Louis Vuitton and Hermes bags, gold pens, diamonds, a palace of wealth built from the people's trust. The trial that followed captivated the world. In Kuala Lumpur, journalists filled every seat. Razak's lawyers claimed innocence, but the evidence was undeniable. Audio tapes, emails, financial documents. Every proof told the same story. 1MDB had been systematically looted. The verdict? Guilty. 12 years in prison, a 50 million ringgit fine. For some, it was justice served. For others, justice delayed. But the impact didn't stop at Malaysia's borders. Global banks were forced to face the truth, too. Goldman Sachs was fined $2.9 billion for its role in the 1MDB bond deals, a painful reminder that silence has a price. The scandal became a warning to the world that no amount of money can bury the truth forever. Some of the stolen funds were eventually recovered. The United States and Singapore returned hundreds of millions, but billions are still missing, lost somewhere in the maze of secrecy and power. When asked, Joe Low once said, "I didn't steal anything. I just used the system." But no one believed him. Today, the name 1MDB remains carved in Malaysia's memory. It is more than a case. It is a wound. A reminder that corruption doesn't just steal money, it steals a nation's future. Yet, no matter how deep the shadow, the truth always finds its way back to the light. 1MDB, the billion-dollar theft of a nation, a true story.